Hello and welcome to the first English episode of Backstage Uni Wuppertal, the podcast that lets you take a look behind the scene here at Bergische Universität. My name is Anne and I am the host for our guests. Today I'm joined by Juan. Hi Juan.
Hello, Anne.
How are you doing?
Everything well today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. It's so wonderful to have an international student here because I think that it's going to be really interesting because the way that international students have to apply to Wuppertal University is very different from what German students have to do. And I am also very interested in your overall experience studying here in Germany, so far away from home. I'm going to kind of quickly introduce you with just a couple of cornerstones of information about you. So your name is Juan. You are from Colombia. You entered the University of Wuppertal doing your master's program in computer simulation and science. Then you continued on to stay here to do your PhD in physics. And right now you have a postdoc position at one of the physics chairs. Is that correct?
Correct, yep.
You gave me your CV to read before we recorded this episode. And you did your high school degree and your bachelor's degree in physics in Colombia.
Mm-hmm,
That's right. So tell us a little bit about that. What is that like? What does your high school degree look like in Colombia? And how is your transition to university? And then why did you decide to do your bachelor degree in physics back at home?
Okay, well, even just going back to school, I think it's a very different story than here in Germany, because ever since I finished kindergarten all the way to when I graduated high school, it was in exactly the same school. If I'm not wrong, here in Germany, you can change.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually have to change, yes.
Exactly. Back home, well, you're of course free to change if your parents want you to change. But in principle, the standard is to go through with it in a single school. So
wow.
It surprised me when my friends told me that they went to different schools at different stages. And, well, that it was just at the very end, close to the last 2 years, we call them 10th and 11th, where I really started to get interested, not specifically in physics, but rather in math, because I had a very good math teacher.
Okay.
But then after, sitting down and thinking a bit about what I wanted to study in my bachelor, if you start looking at what you can actually do in maths, it can get really abstract, and I still wanted to be a bit connected to what I could see and what intuition can tell you. And I think physics is a lot of the times precisely that middle ground where you have to use math to understand what's around you, but it never stops being precisely what is around you.
Yeah.
So at the very end, it was not a marked moment where I said, yes, I want to study physics.
Okay.
When I reached the end, I just said, I will apply to physics. And luckily, I got accepted precisely for that bachelor.
Did you have to go far away from home to study at university, or were you kind of so close to home?
Well, in the same city.
Okay.
The university is in the same city. However, I am from the capital, which is also the biggest city back home, and due to its sheer size and the heavy traffic that there is, the city is called Bogota. We often say that Bogota is 2 hours away from Bogota because just to get, let's say, at 11 a.m. from where I lived at that point to university, if you were lucky, it took 2 hours. If you were unlucky, it took 3 hours just because of the traffic.
Oh, my God.
So in the end, it was always a friend of mine who drove us there, and then we had to, either him or my dad, we always had to leave like at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. to arrive somewhat early. And the same thing when we went out at night. It was always, most of the times with my friend, we waited until 10 p.m. when the parking lot building closed, and then we were the last ones to go out, and then it was 15 minutes. So it is close in the sense that I didn't have to change city, but every day can be a journey.
But you never considered doing anything else? You still wanted to go through with your physics studies?
Definitely. The university where I studied is particularly strong for physics. It also, as quote-unquote far away as it was still better than moving to a different city, for example. And the other ones that are also good, were also kind of the same total distance away.
Okay.
So it didn't really help you, like
Okay.
changing bunkers in the Titanic. It's all the same.
Didn't make a difference. Okay. I remember from when we talked before, you said that when you entered university, you immediately felt that academia was going to be your thing, that you loved being at university. Do you remember that moment or that phase in your life where you realized, oh, this is going to be what I'm going to do?
Yes. Well, at the very beginning, when you take the very basic classes, it's not too terribly different from a school in the sense that you go to a university lecture, get some homework, and then you solve it, etc. Of course, there is more freedom as compared to a school student. But it was really when the professors told us, yeah, if you want to know about what I'm doing, you can maybe check this and this paper out. And then when you realize that it's not about sitting down to do homeworks that a professor or a teaching assistant knows the solution to, but rather in the end, the goal is for you to face a problem with an unknown solution and hopefully either find the correct one or advance our understanding towards the correct one.
Yeah.
That seemed like a very attractive, life trajectory to follow.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of very, very good professors in the sense that not only could they teach you the subject very well, but they conveyed onto you precisely this love for trying to understand what's around us, also what we cannot see because it's very far away or it's very little. So all of the different professors from different areas really convey the fact that by studying physics, you can acquire tools to now go to the front line of understanding what we don't yet understand.
That sounds so wonderful. And you never wavered from that, right?
There was particularly one subject that back in the day, because the program has changed, all physicists had to take, was given by the math department, which was very abstract in the way that it was taught. And then for many people, including myself, it was precisely very difficult to understand and advance through it. But in the end, you have to think ahead and think, well, however difficult this is, if they teach us, this thing is because we need it and because it's a useful thing for whatever we have to face. And the universe will not sit down and say, here, let me make it easy for you. And you just need to know how to add and multiply. Exactly. I mean, if everything were so trivial, sciences wouldn't exist. So it's a matter of, facing everything that they teach it because they know that it's okay for students to fight with it and understand. And then in the end, you come out stronger to face then the problems that real life scientists are facing.
But you have to be willing to accept the challenge.
Definitely, yes. It was called a filter subject, precisely because many people failed it.
Oh, okay.
And then, I mean, that's perfectly okay. You can just take it again. But many people failed it, but abandoned the program because of this and another subject. So this was really where it was decided, if you wanted to continue or not, because, of course, not every subject or not every science, let's say, or not every career is for everybody, which is completely fine. But you have to show that you are willing to go through with it.
Yeah, and you did that.
Definitely, I managed to pass it on the first attempt.
Wow!
It was the one that I have. Thanks, and I think it was really worth it because it was the one that I fought with the most, going up until 2 a.m. solving the homeworks, talking to via WhatsApp with a friend who was also solving the homeworks. But it was worth it in the end to get a mail telling me that I had passed.
Okay. Wow. Really cool experience, right?
Definitely.
Was that the subject you ended up doing your bachelor thesis on, or what did you do your bachelor thesis on at home?
No, completely different. I did my bachelor thesis in quantum optics.
Okay.
Arguably it, yes, requires a lot of mathematics, but not particularly the one of this subject, so that was a bit nice.
Yeah. And then you did your bachelor's degree, and you had to decide what was going to come next in your life. You were always sure that you were going to do a master's program. You never considered working with the bachelor at some point anywhere else?
No, I knew before writing the bachelor thesis that I wanted to continue, and the next clear step was a master's. Then
now we get into the part that's really interesting for the University of Wuppertal. How What was on your mind? What happened in your head when you decided to leave sunny Colombia and come here? I mean, we look out of the window today and it's kind of really overcast, and this is kind of Wuppertal weather. What made you switch from Colombia to Germany? What was the process? How did you decide to do your master's in computer simulation in science in Wuppertal and not anywhere else in the world where you could have gone? Do you remember that process?
Yes, because it was a series of unfortunate events with a very fortunate outcome.
Oh, that's nice.
In the sense that after writing down my bachelor thesis and, let's say, meeting all of the formal requirements to get the official diploma, we have another one back home, which is that everybody that finishes a bachelor, no matter the subject, has to present an exam that the Ministry of Education organizes. And then once you have presented it, you get a little certificate. You have to give the certificate to the university, and that is one of the more formal requirements. And then, unfortunately, I wasn't fully aware of the dynamics of this exam, so I wasn't sure when it was going to happen. I just knew that it existed. And it turns out that it's only given once or twice per year, something like this, so not something that you can just decide to postpone very easily. And I had no idea when it was, and then all my friends took it, and they didn't tell me because it was supposed to be such common knowledge.
Oh, no.
Like you wouldn't tell people next to you to remember breathing. So in the end, everyone had the prerequisite to get their diploma, and I had everything but that. And I thought, okay, now I know what it is. I will register for the next one. But, I mean, given that the only thing that I'm missing is a little piece of paper, because the result of the exam doesn't matter for you to get the diploma. You get it no matter how many points you score. But it's good to score a lot of points because then you become eligible to some financial
scholarships,
things like this. But the point was I just needed the certificate. So I went to university. And I told them, okay, I have everything except for this little piece of paper, but I already know that the next one is on this and this date, so I will, of course, register to take it. And then they told me that, unfortunately, because of the rules set by the Ministry of Education, they could not say, okay, we will wait for that. You can, in the meantime, register for the master's and start, and then give us everything later on. They had their hands tied, I think, so they told me, you're going to have to wait. And I thought, but I don't want to wait. So after seeing, let's say, this door close because I didn't really see through all of the list of requirements, then I started thinking, okay, worst case scenario, I wait, but maybe there are other options outside. So I wanted to try to find a direction as early as I could. And then I thought, well, I always enjoyed programming and computational physics. And then a quick Google search immediately gave the result of the master's program, computer simulation in science.
Wow.
So I thought that's a very, very convenient sounding name. So I clicked on it, and then I started looking through all the description, all the subjects that you have to take, the subjects that you can't take for different specializations, and it all looked pretty much aligned with precisely what I wanted, because also in my bachelor thesis, it was very programming oriented. So I thought, well, this whole master's is very programming oriented with a strong content of physics. So it feels like a very good option.
Okay. But it was like several thousand kilometers away from home.
Yes, that was one big factor, which is also why I had to think, okay, well, it looks perfect, of course, but then there are all these other more technical things like, getting to Germany, everything that I will have to do, how to apply. But before I could even start thinking about this, I said, well, I still don't have a diploma. They for sure will require evidence that I am already a bachelor. So let's find out. So what I did was send them a mail explaining my situation, that I will get my diploma as soon as I present this exam on this specific date. And that if it would be possible for me to start and then just give the diploma later. And they told me, yes, no problem at all.
Wow.
I think the policy, I can't remember, it was like 6 months or 1 year, something like this, to give your diploma if you don't have it yet. And since they said, okay,
And that covered the next point for that exam to get your diploma. Okay.
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, I arrived here, and then the exam was, I think, on the second week of classes of the semester.
You had to go back?
No, luckily, they, of course, know that many people finish the university and leave the country, so you can present it in the embassies or consulates. So I just had to go to Frankfurt very early one day, present the exam, come back. So I just missed one day of classes here, but I got my little piece of paper.
Yay.
I sent it back home. My parents went to university, picked up the diploma, sent it via mail here. I went to the international student office, and then they said, okay, thank you very much. Now all the prerequisites are ready, and then I could continue without worrying. So it was not only the convenience of the content of the master's program, but the fact that it was, well, in a way, let's say this relaxed kind of admission. Like, sure, if I tell them I don't have the diploma and I will not get it for the next 5 years, okay, they would for sure say no, but they understood that it was a minor thing. I would be able to give them the diploma very soon. So they said, yeah, of course, no problem. They told me precisely what to do to apply, because there is this Uni Assist platform that asked for the diploma, but then the administration of the master's program contacted them and told them, for this specific student, don't consider the lack of the diploma a bad thing. Just move it through.
Oh, so that's really cool.
It was all very, they made it easier to get accepted in the end formally.
So you did not really apply with the University of Wuppertal, but you applied via this Uni Assist platform, and then they did everything else with the university.
Yes, I think that's the case for all non-Germanists or non-European. I'm not so sure, but for sure it was
in your case.
In my case. And I still remember the day where I got a mail with a scanned letter of the admission to the masters.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I knew that I was formally accepted. I just needed to, of course, get the visa and everything else. Yeah. But if I had that, the masters already would accept me.
Do you remember how much time there was before you started your master's program in the winter semester, right?
Yes.
Do you remember how much time you had from the day you got the okay go letter until you had to actually come here? I mean, there was probably a lot to organize in the meantime. You said you had to get the visa. You had to find accommodation here. You had to get German health insurance maybe also. Did you have to do that?
Yes, that's another story.
There's a lot of bureaucracy usually involved in getting accepted at a university. How much time did you have from being accepted to having your first day at Uni? And I mean, you had to fly here, of course.
On top of that, I remember that I did everything with enough time.
Okay.
Because just even if you had everything else, just getting an appointment to the German embassy to get any kind of visa, that already takes a long time, because, well, the embassy is kind of big, but they also say that they don't have enough manpower. So, and a lot of people are definitely applying for a German visa. So they told you apply, but apply well in advance. And the appointment that was at, let's say, 9 a.m., I arrived there at 9 a.m., and they told me this will be no more than 30 minutes where you talk to the person and give the documents. I think I ended up in the waiting room more like 3 hours. Luckily, I met up with a friend in there that was also applying for a German visa. So I did it. I can't remember the exact amount of time, but definitely left a big window to take care of visa, to take care of flights, to take care of accommodation, to figure out how to get the health insurance, which I ended up getting the wrong kind, because it was more like a travel insurance, but they told me that it should be okay. Yeah. Well, the company that sold it to me told me that it would be okay, unsurprisingly. But then when I got here to present everything, they told me everything is okay, except for this particular health insurance. That's not one that will be okay for the university or for anybody. But they told me, but don't worry, just go to, they gave me a list of the possible ones. Yeah. Just go there and they will enroll you, and no problem. They will give you a certificate. You bring it back when you have it, no problem. So I went to the headquarters of this AOK or something, and 30 minutes later, everything was solved.
Okay. Wow.
But it was stressful when they told me that it was not valid, and I thought, okay, I can solve it. But what a weird move of this other company
to just
tell
say,
me,
oh,
you can use it. And probably it was just some tourism health insurance that, of course, is not valid for a resident in here. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And did you get any help kind of finding accommodation? Did you live in student accommodation facility, or did you find a private apartment at the time?
No, I lived in this student accommodation that is in this street. Let me see if I remember, in this the green ones here next to the university. And I applied for it well in advance. I was still back home, precisely because, again, the administration of the masters told me, you can apply here. You can use these tools. So I immediately applied. And then even while I was back home, I got the notification like, we have this shared student apartment that you can use for the duration of your study. Just send this and this document, and when you arrive here you will sign the contract, and that should be it. So I already knew where I was going to be sleeping.
Oh, that's nice.
When I arrived here. And then I told them my itinerary, because I think the office closes at maybe 3-4 p.m., something like this, but I needed to sign the contract to get the key. And I managed to get to the office if it closed at 3, I got there at 2:50 p.m. But they were waiting for me. They gave me the key, and everything went, I think, smoothly.
So did I understand that correctly, that you just lived in an apartment together with other master students of the same master's program, or is that like any kind of international student for Wuppertal, University of Wuppertal?
I think it's any kind of international student, because my flatmate definitely was not doing my same math. He was a bachelor student.
Okay.
But when I asked him, he said, you just apply for this. Okay. So he probably, but he was German, but probably the procedure to apply for it is pretty much the same. If you don't live in Wuppertal, but you need to live in there, then and you're a student, you can probably apply for this. So
you didn't have to prove any kind of knowledge of German for your program, right? You were good because it's an English taught program.
Precisely. I had to prove English with this IELTS exam, I think. Yeah. So if you had that was formally enough for them. But of course, you then soon realize that it's better to know a little bit of German for everything that is outside of the master's program. Yeah.
So you kind of flew here from Colombia, and you arrived. I mean, you switched your country, you switched your academic career from your bachelor to your master, and you switched your subject. I mean, there's a lot of change going on. What was that like? Can you tell us about the first weeks or months when you arrived here? Well, how did you perceive people? Did you receive a lot of help, or was it really confusing? Or
well, the whole change issue didn't really hit me too hard at first, but then when it actually came to I know that in a week the classes start, and then I had my schedule with classroom numbers and everything, but of course I have no idea where anything is. But luckily my flatmate was not a first semester student, so he volunteered to show me where each of the rooms were, show me where I could eat, show me around not only the campus of the university, but also the useful things that I would need also around the city. So on the very first day of classes, I already knew where to go. But after that, of course, I was going in blind, because he could not tell me precisely how each professor was going to be. And then one of the things that first impressed me is that immediately after the very first class was over, so everyone was closing their notebooks and everything, and then after the professor said something like, okay, that's all for today, or something like this, everyone starts not this clapping but this knocking on the desk. And I had never seen such a thing. I mean, but I mean, you could have done that or clapping or anything else, but back home we don't have this sort of acknowledgement of a lecture or a talk or a seminar. Okay. I mean, that was it. Back home, the professor would be, that was all for today. I'll see you next week or something like this. And then you will close your notebook and leave. But this was, the very first thing that hit me. But I think that was the case for all other students, since there were only, I think, 2 German students that, of course,
In the
knew how
program.
everything
Yeah.
worked. But I think I think that was the 2 German students that started, and then we all just followed.
Yeah.
Not
It's like,
to,
let's do what the Germans do.
exactly. You don't know if maybe not doing it is an insult or something. So we just followed along. But
Okay.
that was a big change.
Okay.
But yes, as you start to get to know people, I was not lost alone. I was lost together with the others. Minus the 2 German students that would then show us more or less how things went. And then if we needed to go to some particular office here where for some reason they only spoke German, but that's very rare because almost everyone here speaks English, then they would help us with that. Also, you get, for this particular masters, you get an initial talk where they tell you very useful information about the program, the classes, professors, etc. So they help alleviate this, probably big
the
shock,
changeover.
let's say. Exactly, the change of the program and everything else that might come with it. So,
yeah. Do you know how big the program is? How many students are in the master's computer simulation and science? Is it like a huge program? Is it like hundreds of students, or is it a smaller master's program?
When I started, I think new first semesters, we were, let's say, around 10. But I do remember that some left. And then, for example, when I finished it, I only finished it after the 2 years with another friend, one of the German students that helped us. And then we were the only 2 that received the diploma after the 2 years. Because, of course, that's another big change in here. Back home, probably for different factors, you really try to stick to the standard study plan. If the university says 2 years, you try to stick with the 2 years. In here, the university also says, if you just count credits and then the number of classes per semester is 2 years, let's say.
Yeah.
But I think that the students, of course, feel the freedom to distribute this in a way that fits their own studying rhythm. But back home, and probably because of the fact that there are tuition fees, which, of course, limit you, of course, unless you come from wealth. But generally, that plays a big factor. So in here, it's no surprise that people take it at the rhythm that best fits them, which, of course, is good. But I found that the rhythm that best fit me was to finish it in the 2 years.
Yeah. And so you did. Yeah. Okay. But then you had a lot of English-speaking people around you who also started the program with you. Like they were from other nations, and you all just spoke English in the program, even with the professors.
Definitely, yeah. Everything was done in English, which of course makes it the advantage for all of us, because some of them knew. Well, some of the ones that were not German, they knew a little bit of German. Others knew already quite a bit because they had studied it beforehand. So it was not a difficult change to get here. But of course, the second you exit the campus, you realize that you need some
You
German.
are in Germany.
Although, of course, every time you ask somebody if they speak English, they say just a little bit, and then they are more fluent than me. So it is still... That's a very comforting thing that I experience when you come here, because you think, I don't speak German or I only speak a little bit. How will I manage to do anything? Luckily, most of the people have are either fluent in English or have enough English to help you. And if not, they say, ein Moment, and then they get someone that speaks English. So it's very comforting to know that even if they don't speak it, they will still make some effort.
Yeah. Okay. Because that is also one thing that maybe is being said in the world about German people, that they don't. I don't know if that's still a thing, that they don't speak a lot of English, but there are other prejudices or famous prejudices about Germans, and I was wondering whether you found them to be true or not. I picked the 3 most common ones. I think German people are always on time. Is that true in your experience?
Well, I had definitely heard about that one. Well, it's not a very fair question to ask me, because I find it a bit hard to be on time.
Yeah.
So if I arrive late, I have no way of knowing who arrived on time and who arrived late. But earlier than me. But in the few occasions when I have managed to arrive on time to wherever I need to be, the other German people that had agreed to be there, generally they are also on time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You were on time for this recording today. I have to say, thank you very much.
well, that's the other thing. Well, I already said I live close by here, but you will think that then it would make it easier for me to get here on time. But I really had to put in a lot of effort to be here the 8 minutes that I arrived before the appointment time.
Yeah.
So it's a big effort, but yeah, up until now, every German person that I have, I think, has been on time. Not the German trains.
Yeah, not the German trains. No, that's a very different story. But you never ran into problems with German people telling you, "Oh, don't be so late all the time," because we here are very much, you never got into any problems with that.
No, not really.
Very good.
When I arrive late, I mean, it's fashionably late, not horribly late, because I imagine that any person anywhere, if you arrive 3 hours late, could get upset.
Yes,
but
possibly.
I think I have managed to do it in a little window where it has been acceptable for them.
And something that kind of shined through when you talked about your application process, which maybe is not the case anymore. German people seem to be obsessed with rules and regulations.
Okay. You definitely see it in some things. The very first encounter that I had with such thing was when I first applied for my residence permit after I was here, where they were very strict on what I had to show them and the way that I had to do everything. But luckily, up until now, whenever I have to do such a thing, to, let's say, face all of these rules and regulations, I have always had someone from here helping me. So it feels very easy to go through. But of course, if I didn't have the help and then I get there and then they tell me, you're missing this document, this document, and this document according to paragraph this and this or this law, then I would be completely lost.
Yeah.
So although I still have had the experience that, sometimes getting an appointment takes time, and when I get it, I have to present a lot of things and follow a lot of rules. I have been lucky in the sense that many people have helped me, such that I arrive with everything I need, and therefore I follow everything that they ask for, and then there should be no problem whatsoever.
Okay, good. And the last one, German people don't have a sense of humor. So basically, we're really very rude and we never laugh. Is that something that you experienced while you were here in the last 7 years or not?
No, well, I mean, my closest friend here, he is German. He finished the master's with me, but we laugh a lot.
Okay.
And
so you don't find that one to be true?
Yeah, I mean, I of course can imagine that you can eventually find somebody that doesn't have too much of a sense of humor. But the people that I have interacted with, not only him, but the German members, for example, of my working group, they also have a good sense of humor.
Very good. We're very happy to hear that.
I mean, in that sense, it's not different from back home. They are the people that you go through your daily life with. Yeah. And then you manage to laugh, make jokes, have normal conversation. It's not like you make a joke and everyone is staring at you coldly or anything.
Good.
No, everything has been rather good. Smooth.
So you arrived here and you liked doing the master's program and you kind of got used to it.
Definitely, I think in particular the master's was set up such that if you of course have put in the effort to do everything that you're asked for and then go through it, I think it's set up such that it makes for a very comfortable student experience in Germany.
And was it the classes that you took, were they what you expected? Like, were they what you had read in the descriptions, and were they exactly what you had been wanting to do with your previous knowledge in physics and the computer science that you did at home?
I would say yes, particularly because, for example, back home, for every subject that there is, you're given the description in form of a program, like week 1, this topic, week 2, this topic. And in here you have this module handbook, I think. But then for the masters, if you actually look at it, it will tell you precisely what you will see in the class. And then when you actually go to the class, that's precisely what the professor will teach. So even if you think, after reading this part of the module handbook, this subject maybe it's not the most interesting to me. At least you know precisely
what to expect.
What to expect.
Then we're back to the rules and regulations.
Exactly. There is no big surprise, so it doesn't catch you unprepared. Like, oh, this topic that I had never seen in my life. No, if you're already, so you can prepare a little bit in advance.
And were you able to do like the focus point of the studies that you had been wanting to do, or did you go in there and say, I'm going to look what's going to happen, what's going to be the one that I specialize on and do my master's thesis on, or did you go in there already knowing which one of the offered topics you would do your thesis on?
Well, funnily enough, when you apply for the program, which has several specializations, you have to, back when I did it, you have to give 3 options. So the first one is the one that you would most definitely like, but then the next one is, okay, in case...
Plan B.
Yeah, in case the other one is already full, then this one, and then so on and so forth. And the one that I put as first option was not the one that I ended up doing it in.
Oh.
The one that I ended up doing it was theoretical particle physics. And the one that I had put in, it still exists, I think it's called computational electromagnetism or something of this sort. But then after the first semester or so, after taking the mandatory classes that had the big ones, let's say, have a definite touch of physics in there, which I liked, of course. And I thought, well, if it is like this already in the common subjects, then I might as well take advantage of this and then carry on with the physics.
Yeah.
And then I applied to be changed into the theoretical particle physics one. The change was approved. And then I switched directions fully into it. Even though when I was in my bachelor and I had to take my very first particle physics class, I almost failed it. And I was having a hard time understanding what could arguably be the basic points of it. So
back then, if somebody had told you you're going to be specializing on that topic, you would have said, probably not.
Yes, exactly. It would have taken me by surprise. So in the end, in a way, don't judge a book by its cover, but also never say never, because you end up precisely in there. But just as I end up enjoying a lot doing my bachelor thesis in quantum optics, I enjoyed a lot doing my master thesis in the specialization of theoretical particle physics, because once you learn what the basics that you need to advance, then it's like any other subject. If you have the prerequisites to understand something, then you most probably will understand it.
Yeah.
I just, during the bachelor, arguably I was failing in a bit of prerequisites to understand it back then. But now that I see it nowadays, I realize, what I was struggling with back then, now it's my, in Spanish, what the saying is my everyday breath.
Yeah.
So luckily I ended up recently doing this, because it shows me that even back then I was being exposed to something very beautiful, but I didn't have the complete tools to appreciate it.
But that says so much about you as a person, that you keep this open mindset, that you don't kind of close off and say, no, I'm not going to do this. I don't like this. This is out of the picture now. I mean, you did that with a math class that you struggled so much with. You struggled through, and you kind of went on, and then you continued to do maybe topics that took you by surprise in liking in the end. So you have to keep a very open mindset. Is that something you would say is typical for you? That is
definitely, and I think it has to be a trait for everyone, that at least in science, because generally many breakthroughs that have been done is precisely because you realize the approach that everyone is taking for X or Y reason hasn't worked, and then it's somebody that manages to find a connection with something different, because they manage to speak the same language, then they manage to advance. I mean, many areas that you would seem are not very connected, this is an illusion, just because they are saying the same thing, but in a different language. And then once you learn the common language so that you can enable communication, then you can put in together the efforts and advance. So
that's a beautiful image.
So thanks. And it's definitely the truth, I think. I mean, or else maths and physics, for example, would not be so hand by hand as they have always been, because even though you might think that math is a bit more abstract, the universe, I mean, you understand it through math. So you cannot close yourself to all math or some very specific branch of math, because it turns out that then in 2 years, a very smart person realized that you could use that to solve this problem. and then
Yeah.
you lost that opportunity because you thought, that's not useful.
Yeah. Wow. Very beautifully described. Thank you very much for that. You finished your master's, and once again, I assume you never considered going to work out there somewhere with a master's, but you always knew that you were going to do a PhD.
Definitely, yes. It felt like the natural step.
Did you ever consider going back home to do your PhD?
Not really, because, well, in particular, because the specific area where I did my PhD is not worked on back home.
Okay.
But even if it was at the same scale that is done here, because here it's, I think, a very big effort in that. So even if it was just as big back there, I don't really see myself doing it because, again, for the PhD,
you have to do another diploma?
No, luckily, as far as I know,
another exam.
But you have to do an entrance exam, and also there are tuition fees for the PhD, which I think is not really something that attracts a lot of PhD prospects. Well, in here, the structure of a PhD is very different than back home. So in here, I was a researcher, an employee of the university, with the very specific task of working in what I was working in. And then, of course, I was working towards a PhD, and then I had to do my thesis and meet some requirements and so on and so forth. So still a student, a PhD student, but I didn't have, let's say, the restriction of having to pay tuition fees. Of course, this is very related to how education is handled here and back home. But again, we cannot change reality. So it was much more convenient to do it here, not only because what I did in the master's continued naturally into the PhD, but also because physics apart, it feels more comfortable to do a PhD this way.
And it was the topic that you liked from your master's studies.
Precisely. It was a natural continuation of it, plus a couple of extra things, but definitely all in the area that I have now grown to love. And again, it's just a process of course, new things came that I need to prepare myself to understand them. And then once I understand them, I can move on, so on and so forth. So building yourself as a scientist to acquire the tools to, I mean, nobody will ever answer everything, but at least to be better equipped to try and advance a little bit the endeavor of answering some questions.
Yeah, wonderful. You then continued you finished your PhD and now you are a postdoc. Can you quickly describe to us what that means? Where on the academic ladder are you right now? What are your daily tasks during your semester and outside of the semester?
Okay, so immediately after getting officially my PhD diploma and being able to call myself a doctor, in principle, although of course it's not completely true, I cannot get any more titles. Of course, that is a different story in Germany because there are other titles that you can, be as additional effort, acquire. But for example, back home, this is the, let's say, largest title that you get. So in a sense, you stop being a student and now you are considered to have the tools to do research in whatever you're doing research on. And then precisely my job is just that. So I am still in the same area where I worked in my PhD because I am now considered to have enough tools to research in that. But I no longer work, let's say, to connect everything to a final thesis, but I work together with the other members of the research group towards the research goal that we have. So if we say we want to study X and Y, so we make a well-laid plan and then each one has a task, etc., etc. But I am no longer, let's say, tied to the fact that everything I do is in the end to be put together in a well-told story that is the thesis. But now, just in the sense of building my curriculum, not to get a title, but to show that I can do successful research in X and Y area, and then show that what I acquired in the PhD allows me to solve X and Y problems.
Okay. Part of that position, as far as I saw from your CV, is going to events, holding presentations, going to workshops, giving speeches. How do you prepare for that? And do you remember the first time you had to do that at like an event or a workshop or a symposium and you had to hold your first speech on your topic?
Yes, I do remember that first one. So, well, how do I prepare? Well, in the end, no matter where the conference is or what the particular topic is, I mean, it's all in the big area of physics that we work in. In the end, it all reduces to you did something to try to either solve a problem or come closer to solution of a problem. You got some results, positive, negative, everything is a result. It's your job to show what you did to a knowledgeable audience of experts and show why what you did is a good thing, whether you got a bad or a good result. If your result was that this method does not work for this, that is still a good result, because then now people understand why that method is not good for this. So the way that I prepare is I just, well, first of all, alone by myself, make the slides that will contain pretty much what I will be saying. But then we meet together, the research group, and then I do the presentation in front of them. And then precisely they serve as the audience because, well, of course, they know what I did or a big part of what I did. So it's not exactly the same as explaining it to people that do not know what I did. But what they can do is provide you feedback. Okay, you just said you did this and this. Why? Or why not this other thing? Or what does that particular sentence mean? So they can help you better build the explanation that will come out to people that are experts of the area, but are not privy to all the particular details, because it's impossible to sum up in a 15-minute long talk 4 years of research. So what I have found in my experience that is a very good preparation to do is first prepare it yourself, but then test it with the audience of your own research group, because they, of course, know the topic, they know what you did, but also maybe because they know what you did, they can help identify, well, not the weak points, but possible things that other people might ask, might be confused about. And also to help with the selling points. I mean, if you are the only one that prepares everything, then maybe you miss something that a fresh set of eyes can give a new perspective on. Of course, in the end, there will always be a question that catches you by surprise, but that's also part of the job, to either come up with an answer in there or just be completely honest and say, I don't know, I hadn't thought about that. Because in the end, it's better to tell the truth always.
Always. Do you get used to holding those talks? Were you more nervous the first time doing it, or do you still go in there and say, man, I have to do another talk?
Well, there is always the nervousness, especially when you're walking towards the front of the room. But once the moderator says, please begin, I don't know, you sort of get in the zone and then you realize, I'm here talking about something that I did, of the topic that I know. So if anyone should be giving this talk confidently, it's me. It's not like some other person gave me their material 10 minutes ago and I now have to improvise. So you're presenting what you did. Good results, bad results, whatever it was. You did it, so you should be able to answer the questions of how you did, why you did it, what came out of it. And then after you're done and they clap or knock on the desk, then you go back, let's say, to reality, and then you have to start waiting for the questions. And then that's always the flip of a coin. If the questions will be something that you're very well prepared for, or, as it always happens, some person, most of the cases with a very deep understanding of the topic, connects it to something else that you just didn't know, and then you have to say, good question, I will have to think about it.
And that's totally accepted to answer that.
Definitely.
It doesn't make you look bad if you have to do that.
No, not at all.
Because everybody does it.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, because in the end, both the presenter and the audience are there to try and help each other and advance. So they can ask you questions telling you, have you heard about this or this method? Because it could definitely help you there. And then you tell them, yes, we tried it, or no, we didn't try it, or that's good to know, I will try it. And I have been on both sides. I've been on the presenting side that gets questions, but I have also asked questions and
the questioning
suggested
side.
things. So you know that no matter where you are, on which side you are on the side of science, of advancing it.
Oh, that is so interesting. I could ask you so many more questions about that. You've also published several articles already. Was that during your PhD or as a postdoc?
Well, during the PhD, so my name is in a couple of ones, but of course there is always the issue was who was the main author of the paper. Of course, I like to think that I contributed to all of the ones where my name is.
Yeah.
But of course, contributions can have different sizes. So the one where I was the main contributor, it was during my PhD, which precisely shows results of what I did in my PhD. That's a peer-reviewed published one. There is another one where I am in the list of authors, but I was not the main contributor. But again, I like to think that I contributed to it. Again, peer-reviewed published. And there are also others which are not peer-reviewed, but rather what we call the conference proceedings, where you basically write down what you presented with a bit more details as a way for the people that listen to your talk and then they were left thinking, that's something interesting. I wonder if it's useful for me. If they don't find time to ask the presenter, they can go to these proceedings and then read. Currently I have more proceedings than peer-reviewed publications. But I am very happy with what I have contributed to all of them.
Yeah, and it's basically what you have to do for building your CV is you have to publish at some point, get things with your name on there.
Precisely, preferably peer-reviewed articles, but conference proceedings are also very valuable because it's there where you go and you present what you are doing. If you just publish papers but never really, let's say, advertised it, like maybe people will come across your paper because it was the editor's suggestion, so maybe it gets a bit more visibility. But I think that what can help you a lot is to go and show, listen, this thing helps a lot for this, and maybe a couple of members in the audience will take a quick note of the paper or the conference proceeding or something that you put in there. And then they might contact you, or then they might look up for the actual paper and use it. But to bring it into their field of vision, I think it's very helpful to have these conferences. Honestly speaking, it's also very nice to present your work, especially if you get to travel to very diverse places to do so. I don't like traveling for tourism, but I love traveling for conferences because it feels like tourism with a very strong purpose. So I like that.
That sounds so nice. That sounds like you still love what you're doing and you're still kind of blossoming up and being in academia. That never changed. What's the next step for you? Do you have something that you work towards, or is the postdoc right now the thing? Are you planning on going back home? Are you planning on staying in Germany? What's the near and the far future hold for you?
Well, for the near future right now, I am still within the scope of my current position. Ideally, I would like to remain here in the same research group a little bit longer because I feel very optimistic in the work that is being done right now, and I feel that I can still actively and significantly contribute to it. But of course, there is the other side that, particularly in science, is good to move around to see different things, different perspectives. And then, of course, that is still part of my plan. At some point, I do want to go to somewhere where they still do the same research that we do here, but from a different focus or something like this. For now, I'm very happy here, so I'm trying to focus more on the now. But I know that at one point, I have to be on the lookout for future opportunities. Going back home, even in the medium term, I don't see it as that much of a priority because, as I said, well, unless something changes until then, this particular area is not worked on, unfortunately. So if I were to go back home, if I don't want to completely change what I do, I would have to be the one that creates the group that does this. But to do that, you need a lot of experience, be very knowledgeable, and have a lot of connections. And I am still on the beginning part of acquiring all of this. So it sounds more like, okay, after I have been around a little bit, built enough experience, enough connections, then maybe going back home could be a possibility. Again, the way that works with permanent positions here, and there is a bit different, but it would be more of a very long-term thing. Because either Europe, particularly Germany, or the States, for me right now seem like the place where I could continue doing these things, this particular area of research. But you never know if in the end it is someone else that arrives this first, starts it, and then I join, or if for some reason nobody does it, and then eventually I have the necessary tools to start it myself. I don't know. It would be very nice.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye on that, though, whether there might be a chair under your name in your subject in the next 15 years or so. All fingers crossed for that. Juan, is there anything to close this episode off? Is there anything you would like to tell other prospective international students who are still thinking about maybe leaving home, studying abroad, coming to Germany, maybe even coming to Wuppertal? Maybe maybe somebody just did a quick Google search and found a nice study program here. Is there anything that you would like to tell them, which factors they should consider in their decision studying somewhere else?
Yeah, well, for the very particular case, I think, of Germany or even to Wuppertal, what I would say something like, do as I say and not as I do, in the sense that for whatever you're coming here, well, assuming an English speaking course, still learn German, possibly beforehand, because if you already speak German and you arrive here, life must be breezy. My German is definitely better than it was when I first arrived, but it's not at the level where it should be after the time that I have been here. And I know that if it was at that level, many, many things would be easier. But at the same time, I have been very, very lucky in the sense that many things have been done in English, or I have had friends that have helped me with the parts that could not be in English. But not everyone can be as lucky. So if you can grab your luck by your own hands and then do it yourself, definitely learning German. Although I think that's a very cliche recommendation. But even if you don't or can't do it, as it happened for me, rest assured that at least in here, I have realized that with English, you can survive enough to have a good experience. And then if you really want to stay for the long term, or just be able to understand what people are saying on the streets, I think there are plenty of opportunities to learn German already at the university. So even if you come in here not knowing anything of German like I did, you will do quite well. Because I survived. And the fact that English is so widespread makes definitely things a lot easier than, for example, it would be back home if you don't know Spanish, but you only know English. In here, you can build a life. Back home, you will find yourself learning Spanish out of necessity. While in here, I think it's, at least Wuppertal is very, well designed to welcome English speakers. I have also come into contact with people that I asked them, do you maybe speak English? And they say no. And then I said, oh, okay. But then they notice in my accent that I speak Spanish, and then they start speaking in Spanish. So you will always find a way to communicate. English is very widespread. No matter what people say, everyone says only a little bit, and then they are fluent. So you come in blind, but you are very well received. So definitely don't be afraid, because in the end, it all will work out somehow.
Oh, that's such a nice last sentence to finish the episode on. Thank you so much, Juan. Thank you for being here, being our guest. It's very inspiring to hear your story and to get the different kind of points of view from the application process to what it feels like to be in a different country and basically do a big part of your academic career here. Thank you so much. I hope that we could provide all our listeners out there with some insights about the experience of studying and living here. And I hope that everybody tunes in next time again when we have the next episode for you. So until then, all of you, as usually, stay a little crazy and take good care of each other. Bye.
Goodbye.